So this strategic design of the difficulty adjustment is actually pushing value into the network. So it's not that it's just backed by that. It's actually designed to increase in value over time based on the growth of the network. And the growth of the network is based on the demand on the network. And like I said, the demand on the network is growing faster than the internet and will continue to expand, I think, even faster as Bitcoin gets integrated. And we don't just see it as a store of value, but as a medium of exchange and then ultimately a unit of account.
Yeah, we're still really early.
Yeah.
And store value too. I mean,
15 years. 15 years. Ask your listeners, how long did it take for gold? How long did it take to get off of seashells and yapstones?
Yeah.
How long did it take for gold? And you know what's interesting about this, Paul? Gold could not increase its monetary velocity until it had an L2.
Yes.
And that L2 was paper derivatives, right? Bank deposits, their checks written against it.
Like
4,000
years in.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're on year 15 and Cantor Fitzgerald is already opening up a lending window. Right. We're in year 15. It's already being integrated into Wall Street strategies through MicroStrategy. We're in year 15. Next year in year 16, we're going to have Bitcoin integrated into financial products. The pace at which this is moving is unbelievable.
Yeah, that's probably hard for a lot of people to grok, right? Because it's moving so rapidly that it's far outpacing people's ability to, like you said, take the time to learn it. Yeah. Because it's one thing to listen to all the things that you and I are talking about. It's another thing to say, okay, I have to prove it to myself. And I got to go listen to hundreds of hours of discussions. I got to read some research. I've got to understand the way the algorithm works to get to the point where you're confident.
Yeah.
And I always tell people, I say, while you're doing that, buy a little. Because whatever you could afford to lose, right? Go to whatever you're comfortable with losing at the roulette table, put that in Bitcoin so that you're watching that chart every day that you're doing your study and your research. Because to me, that's like all of a sudden, and I mean, I'm only saying this because this is what happened to me, right? I buy Bitcoin at 6K and within 6 months it's at 20. And the entire time I'm like panicked. Is that I don't know enough about this thing. Why did I not buy more? Why did I not have the confidence? What is this fake? Is this going to collapse on me? Like it forces you to ask all these questions and it drives your motivation to do the research and learn. So I think it's really important to have a little bit that you can afford to lose while you're doing your research.
Yeah. And that's a hard pill to swallow because like you said, that volatility, that's one, I think that's the answer to why these traditional people, yeah, it's a little bit of what I said with their mindset and their hubris, but also it's the volatility. They don't look at the volatility as being a benefit. Yes. And I think, Bitcoin bonds is going to help a lot with that because your downside volatility is eliminated. So that way, if you don't feel that comfortable and you need time to learn about it, buy a Bitcoin bond because your downside volatility risk is eliminated. And while you're learning, you have exposure to that upside because there's no saying, I always say it this way. The only difference between inflation and hyperinflation is trust. And nobody knows when that trust is going to be lost. I don't care. They have textbooks, right? In the economics textbooks, they'll tell you hyperinflation is 50% month over month. That's the threshold that you need to, you cannot mathematically define hyperinflation because it's different across all the different examples we've seen from Rome and Greece and Weimar Republic and Venezuela and Argentina. The only thing that's the same is that they entered into hyperinflation when the people lost trust. And that's why I think this election is so important because we're either going to reestablish trust, we're either going to clean house and help to reestablish trust, or trust will continue to be abused. And at some point in time, when that trust gets, and I think it's safe to say that BRICS has probably lost that trust, right?
Yeah,
BRICS
I was thinking the exact same thing. BRICS is telling us they've lost the trust, and this, you can see it in the gold chart.
Yep.
And yeah,
absolutely. They're all of their. See, we have deficits when we do trading. They have surpluses. All of their trading surpluses are going directly into gold. They're not going into government bonds anymore because the real rate of return is negative. So I bet you if the United States if the federal government issued a Bitcoin bond, the other governments would be chomping to get at the bit because they want to be able to get that exposure. And if we embrace gold, I just had Daniel Diaz of Citizens for Sound Money, great guy, great lobbyist, doing a lot of God's work, getting us back onto a sound money economy. But he's heavy on digital gold. But the thing is if we remonetize gold, we are now empowering BRICS, who's been stacking gold ever since we've weaponized the dollar, right? We came out and we said, you do this, we don't like it. Now we have confiscated Russia's money and then used it to finance Ukraine. That is why they're moving away from us, because it's not their money, right? Not their coins, not their money. It's not their money. It's the United States sanctioning them out of the system, weaponizing the money system, and now they're going back into gold. So we've kind of taken that choice off the table. I think before COVID, the United States could have repriced gold and tried to balance our balance sheet. But now if we try to reprice gold, we're just making ourselves poor relative to these other nations who have been stacking gold as a consequence of us weaponizing our own system. But it's also a miracle that BRICS went with gold instead of Bitcoin, because it leaves the door open for a Trump or for an RFK or for a sound money advocate or a pro-human person to come in and say, you know what, we're gonna integrate Bitcoin.
So you've heard Bitcoin is the new gold rush by now. As world leaders on all sides have endorsed it as the future of money, and now you're looking to get started, we'll show you how. It's actually easier than you think. First, go to your nearest Byte Federal ATM and turn your cash to coin. Byte Federal has over 1,200 locations around the country with the highest daily limits. Go to our website, bytefederal.com, to find the nearest ATM to you. Log in to any wallet, then create an account, deposit your US cash, and instantly convert it to Bitcoin. That's it. We are the only US manufacturer and operator in the Bitcoin ATM industry, and our US-based live customer service is second to none. Go on, give it a whirl, and don't get left behind. Click the link below.